Okay, there we go.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We are once again in the car, and therefore we're doing yet another review nobody asked for, nobody will watch. Today's film is the biopic, I guess, that's based off of a PlayStation game and also somebody else's life. Gran Turismo.
Yes.
So let's see. Accelerating quickly to a 0 to 10. How quickly would you say this film accelerated into your heart, TJ?
I'm gonna give this film a 9.
All right, why?
The first thing I have to say is cinematography wise, this thing is just amazingly well shot. There's a lot of it's kind of a pun, but gear shifting in the visual effects where they are looking outside a car, inside a car, outside a car, in the pit, inside a car, outside a car, pit, inside or outside a car, and they're constantly rotating between them. And normally stuff like that would just jar me, but it's timed very, very well.
Yes.
And there's just a few specific even scenes that just like, ooh, perfection. The story is just amazing. It's solid, it's easy to follow, simple, but they do a really good job of hamming it up. And unlike the Nike or some of the other biopics and stuff that we've watched, I was not aware enough of the situation specifically, and I kept it that way. I didn't want to research anything about this because I wanted to just enjoy the film, not knowing what happens. So I like the Nike one where you know he signs in the end. Like I wasn't sure where it was going to go.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun to watch. The only two things I did know is that he was still racing, and that, what was the other thing? That he was the stunt double in the film. They kind of pushed that a lot in the marketing material. So I guess I could say that's kind of a spoiler, but not really. Like, they shove it down your throat that he's in all the interviews, he's in all the pieces and promotional material for the film, so you know that the original driver this is based on is actually part of it. Which is also really cool. Like, it's just the premise is fun, the filming is good, the acting is good. I just really enjoyed it.
That's fair, completely. I actually agree with you. 9 is fair for this film, being based off of a true story, nonfiction film, very entertaining throughout. The cinematography is very, very well done. It has a very good pace to it. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's compelling enough. The narrative is good enough, and the acting is pretty good. I mean, when it struggles, though, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't really take away from the film. The material in and of itself is entertaining and fun enough. They were very, very creative with their shots, and that's something that I can really appreciate, is because it's not just like switching cameras and stuff like that. They'll go in and they'll mimic the video game. Like, it looks like the real car in a video game.
Yep.
The CGI is really good up until probably near the end race. You can kind of tell that it's in the uncanny valley, but otherwise they do a really good job with all the other shots.
The uncanny valley, though, actually works because it is referencing a game.
Yeah.
And so the suspension of disbelief isn't that bad because you're not CGIing actual racing. The racing, as far as I can tell, is practical the entire time.
The majority of the film is practical, you can tell.
The CGI effects are just used for comparison and mental imaging between the main character in the game and like how he sees the race course.
Yes.
And so it doesn't detract from anything.
Right. There's only one real shot that's like outside of him like tearing apart the vehicle and being obviously like put in the seat.
Yeah.
And the one shot that they do, it makes sense that they would do CGI because getting that shot in real life would be ridiculously dangerous. They get a shot that shows 6 seconds of driving time on one of these like intensely quick courses, and you can't put a camera on the racetrack with the vehicles going at top speed. So it makes sense that it's on CGI. That's the only one that I was like, okay, this is really clearly CGI. Otherwise, the graphics are really, really well done. This film is really entertaining. I recommend it. I think that if you like the video game or you like racing and cars in general, you'll really like this film.
Gosh, I think if you just like films, you'll like this film.
Well, that too. I mean,
well, yeah, I get what you mean, like material, but as a cinephile, like this is just a masterpiece of like filming. Like the camera work is just incredible.
It's true. I think that we're good to go. Roll into spoilers. Spoilers. I can't believe that there's actually an end credit scene to this film, and it shows Dom Toretto showing up and saying, "So you enjoy your family? You can join my family." And setting up the sequel, the inevitable sequel, the crossover we've all been waiting for, Gran Turismo. Gran Turetto.
Oh, we joked about that so much because it's like I was waiting for the moment where it's like the I am Iron Man moment. I am Gran Turismo, and then yeah, he shows up. I am Gran Turismo. You want to join a family? I got a family. Come join my family. Crosses into the into the Fast and Furious franchise. Oh man. That would actually have been... I would have just taken it and be like, yep, sure. Whatever. Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to spoilers, one of the big ones here, and actually one of the reasons I give it, at the very beginning, it shows some stock footage of like the racer, and then it goes back and shows him... It shows the Nissan guy like setting it up, and it shows the racer, the kid. And... I think they kind of set this up kind of like Nike and other ones did. Like, you know that he's the pick. Because it's about him. So they don't really shy away from it. They just go right along with him being the main character right off the bat. Yeah. Which is fine. But I would have actually liked... And it's the problem is it's not about them, and so it's fair. But I would have liked to at least know a little bit about the two other racers that come up at the end.
Yes.
They were going to focus on that because there's a part at the end where they have a team race, and two of his other they put two of the other people from the program in it, and you really don't know a lot about them. In fact, they kind of focused a little bit more on some of the other ones. This guy who was placed second, he just barely beat out. You just don't know anything about him, and so it would have been nice to know a little bit more about those two, just because they prominent towards the end. That's the only reason. It's just because they are so prominent at the end of the film. Getting to know them a little better would have been nice, but it might have been difficult too, because people might have just forgotten about him anyway. Maybe there's a deleted scene where they talked about him like nobody remembers who these guys are. But that would have been nice, and I would have liked more interactions with him and his family after he got into racing.
Yeah.
Like at the very end of the film, they do what they do in a lot of biopics. They show the real life images of the racer and his family and photos. And it shows his dad like being there when he won. And his dad doesn't show up after he becomes the racer until like the end of the film.
Yeah. It feels like that shot at the end kind of made the entire film feel a little bit cheap. Where it's really clear that they hyped up some of the drama around the family to make it so that it's like, oh, his dad showed up, and it's a very big, impactful scene. But in real life, it's not actually that case. I don't care for that. I like having accuracy in film, but I understand, like, dramatizing it.
Well, that may even still happen. I think they may have just not shown him showing up early to give more impact to that, which on a film I get. But then don't show in the final moments the real life of him being there. Because then you just basically just undercut your whole film. Like, well, actually, it wasn't that dramatic. Here's the real life stuff. And it's like, well, then why did you put it in there if you're going to take out the real stuff or make it more real to what happened?
Yeah.
Because you're not, a film version of what happened isn't going to be 100% accurate. They're going to ham it up for perfectly fine. Yeah. But don't undercut your hamming in the same film you just showed me. That was a very weird... It's just a weird choice. I was close to giving this like a 9.5, maybe high. Like this out of the year, technically, the best film I think I've seen all year. when it comes to entertainment value, there's a few I really enjoy more just because of what I like.
Yeah.
But I will say I was on the edge of my seat a lot in this film, and there was a few moments that like hit me in the feels.
Yeah.
Like when he gives him the gift, when he has the big accident and it's really rough, and his crew chief like just pulls open the gift, and it just hits you in the feels, and there's just this heart-wrenching moment where he's almost ready to give up, and it is intense. Like, it was really intense, and it didn't feel long. Like, it felt like lengthwise the movie felt like the right length. I just feel like a couple of different decisions made it a little smoother, but honestly that's just nitpicking at this point.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, everything about this film works really, really well. All the actors play their parts really well. The story beats are really good, and yeah, there are some really high, intense, emotional parts of the movie, and it is just really a well done film. Yeah. I don't really have too many notes for this.
It was just a blast to watch. It's so solid. It's hard to nitpick, and this is like, performance-wise, we would usually be like, well, so-and-so's performance was amazing. They all did really well.
The casting was really well done.
Even the other racers were like compelling because they show their interviews as they're going, and you're like feeling their emotions, and then they all show up at the end, so they get to watch like their team go. It's so well paced out. The pacing, the story beats, like you said, character drops, when characters show up. That's something that actually was one of the things that Guardians hit me a little bit. Like, it was one of my favorite films. They choose weird moments to drop certain characters in and then take them away. This one just seems to drop people right when you need them. Right when you think, hey, whatever happened to that one? Oh, they're there.
Yeah.
Hey, how was the beef between... Oh, there it is. It's like right when you start to ask yourself a few questions, that immediately they're answered for you in a very satisfying way.
Yeah, and all the relationships that are going on in the film really work well to the credit of the story. Even if it might be a little hammed up to reality, it works really, really well in this film. Like,
even the other racer.
Yes, the other racers team, and the fact that that team was associated with Hopper. What's his character's name? But
the crew chief.
Like, the fact that the crew chief had this like really terrible relationship with that team, and he didn't like that team. He hated the fact that was what the entire racer was about, and the fact he was dirty. He didn't like that, and they show it throughout the film, and it's a satisfying conclusion. Therefore, when he gets into third place by beating this worse organization.
And it's a good rivalry, and the one thing I like about it is the rival actually learns a little bit of a lesson, because he over risks and crashes, and through the rest of the race you can tell that he has a little bit more respect for the kid, even though he's still kind of upset with him, because he's like, yeah, you know, I biffed it and I'm a professional racer. Like, okay, fair enough. And he kind of gives him a little bit of respect even though he's fighting against him, and it's kind of it pays off because it feels more realistic. Like, these guys are going ridiculous speeds, their lives are on the line. I feel like camaraderie among racers, even when they're opponents, would be high in the beginning when they're getting ready to get started, and then at the end you just kind of want to put that to rest because you don't want to be but he was the perfect amount of antagonistic, and when the other racers were signing on to get him kicked out, like, it's like kind of petty, but at the same time, they feel like they're I never felt like those other drivers were being petty. They made it pretty clear that there are no bad guys here. Like, the other racers were afraid for their lives. Like, this person's not trained the same way we are. This person's not built for this like we are. It's like a sports film where, like, any of them, where they find like the field goal kicker in a field somewhere, and they're like, well, we're gonna put him on the team. It just makes people upset when you pull someone out of nowhere. And they feel personal, the danger, like, especially in a speed sport like this. This guy could kill us. Yeah. Why is he here? But it's just kind of a prejudice of, well, you guys all came from somewhere. What was it like when you were brand new? Even if you got a different training, it's just but it's fair. Like, They do a really good job of that in this film, and I think that's something that kind of feels like a spoiler because it's a major plot point.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put it here. I just want to hit on that really hard, that they do a really good job of interacting the villain with the main character in a way that seems believable rather than grand.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Overall, recommend this film. It's really fun. It's a good time. It's the right amount of length. The score hits on all the notes.
Oh, the score was good too.
And
the way they do it, where it's always someone listening. They do the score and then it's someone listening to it, which is kind of a trope, but they do it really well in this film.
They do it really well. It makes you kind of feel like you're in the headspace of the character.
Yeah. And they reuse soundtracks. That's something I don't see in movies very often. They reuse the same song multiple times in order to prove a point that this is something that he uses.
Yeah. It's something that he uses, and it's absolutely believable that he would be listening to the same thing because that's his ritual. That's what he does every race. So it feels like you get this sense of you're in the same headspace as the character is. The shots when he's in the car, it feels claustrophobic and hyper-focused, and it's like that's how I would be if I was racing at 300 plus kilometers an hour.
That's another thing. In a lot of the shots, they show the speed that they're going. You're just like, holy. And then they'll show like the car pistons and the stuff running on the inside. And when some of the cars explode, they show exactly what part went wrong. It's just a fun way of like showing the inner workings of it. It's just fun. I could talk about this film actually probably far longer than I should, so I'm going to shut up and let you
But yeah, it's very well done. 100% recommend if you are going to go and see this. Take your friends, go by yourself. It's one of those films that's really good. It's probably, of all the films that are out right now, as far as like new, this is probably the best one that's within the last 2-3 years.
Also, you should go see it because I want them to make more films like this.
That's fair.
This was just fun. It was just fun to watch, and I would love to see more films like this come out where they're technical and action-packed at the same time. It's really fun.
Well, yeah, and also there's this whole like realm of racing that I don't think that we as Americans really dive into so much because we're not as prominent in those kind of races. Like Gran Turismo is big because of the video game and stuff, but as far as U.S. when it comes to racing, the first thing that comes to mind is the Indianapolis 500 in NASCAR. So,
which are also very high.
Which are high octane and they're fun. They're extreme sports, but this racing is so technical and all the turns and things like that. It's just a very fun, entertaining movie. Yeah. And even if it was fiction, kind of like a Days of Thunder thing, but it's this kind of racing would be really, really cool to see. I'm not a huge motorhead and I'm not huge into racing, but this film had my attention the entire time.
I'm both a Motorhead and a Gran Turismo fan, so this hit everything for me. And a biopic fan and a history fan. So this is like check.
Checks all the boxes, therefore go see it. Right?
Yep, exactly.
Anyway, we are heading into a bit of a lull when it comes to the box office due to the writer strikes and the actors strikes.
And summer ending.
A lot of releases are starting to get delayed, however, because of the strikes. So we were planning on seeing Dune when it was coming out. Now that today got announced that it's going to be released in March now instead of November. So we would love to know what films you guys specifically want to go and see, because some of the big names I think are going to start getting pulled and delayed the longer that the studios are not going to be working with the actors and the writers. So we appreciate your guys' interactions. We want to give you guys the content that you not only would see but actually really want to see. If we're going and we're doing these reviews, we're trying to do them to help you out, so that if you aren't sure if you want to go to a film, you can come to us and we give you guys a really quick 1 to 10 and all But also, if you go to the film, you can kind of listen to us and maybe we're hitting some things off of your soundboard that you're interested in and maybe you didn't notice, or you noticed but nobody else is talking about. That's why we're here. So please, in the comments, let us know what films you guys want us to watch. We are always looking for recommendations. Otherwise, You can check us out on Facebook at Entertainment Rebooted. We do a box office recap as well as different articles and stuff like that. We try to keep our ears to the ground when it comes to the entertainment industry, specifically right now film, but things may be starting to expand here soon. Also, we're on X at Exposition Sickle. That's not been super duper prominent, but we're still there, so we appreciate a follow. Otherwise, share us with your friends, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.